I've always believed anything you do in life is worth doing the right way. Recently, a new guy showed up at our gym. He looked fairly new, everything he was doing. He looked like he just learned the day before. So I went over to him and I helped him out, taught him a few techniques, and he did let me know, hey, today's my second day. And I was like, oh man, you look very good. Keep up the great work. And I thought that was the end of it. After my training session was over, though, my head coach let me know that that new guy is actually fighting in 2 weeks. He came from out of town to visit our gym, and he had taken a fight back where he's from. He's only been training for 2 days, but he's going to have his first amateur fight in 2 weeks. I couldn't believe it. My coach wanted me to talk to him and advise him out of taking the fight, but I had nothing to say. I've never been that crazy, and I've never went that hard before. The kid said his long-term goal was to one day fight in the UFC, but him taking a fight after only training for 2 days is pretty much never heard of. I kind of figured that he was going to go out there and lose because he looked crazy when he was training with me in the back. So I told him, hey man, I know you want to do this, but there's a right way and a wrong way into doing it. You might want to take your time and actually learn the proper ways to fight before you go and take yourself an amateur fight. He said, no, I'm going to do it. 2 weeks go by and I found out, hey, he actually won. But that's besides the point. Although the fight went great for him, it's not always going to be like that. And whenever you want to accomplish something that's difficult, there's always ways for you to stack the odds in your favor. You don't want to make it harder than it already is. Now I'm going to tell you guys about a story that actually happened to somebody that I know. And it's also kind of the reason why I never recommend people for my team. And whenever people ask me, hey, can you put in a good word for me so I can come train at the gym? I'm always a little bit hesitant just because of this story. I'm going to change around a couple of names to save faces for this story. So let's just say I had this old friend named Ricky. Me and Ricky, we used to wrestle at the same club together. So he hit me up online and he said, hey, I'm trying to get into MMA. Can I come train at your gym? And I was super excited to help him. I told all my coaches, I was like, hey, yeah, my boy Ricky that used to wrestle with me wants to come train up here. Can he please come? Everybody was okay with it. They was like, yeah, sure, he could join up. And he showed up the next day at the gym. Even though Ricky stopped wrestling for a while, when he came to the team, he wasn't half bad. He was still a little decent. He was a little rough around the areas. He didn't know much about jiu-jitsu or striking, but his wrestling was still decent enough, and he was athletic enough to be competent. The only bad part, though, was Ricky had a little bit of a mouth on him. So whenever he was being coached or stuff like that, he had kind of like a know-it-all attitude. I remember there was one time he was training with our boxing coach, and our boxing coach was trying to emphasize to him that he had to keep his hands up. And then his response to the coach was, well, you don't keep your hands up. Given this is about like a 50-year-old coach that doesn't think about fighting at all, you know, all he's doing is just teaching other people, and he's replying back to him while he's trying to be helpful and correct Ricky's technique. That was one of the many few incidents with Ricky. I remember another day while he was being coached in boxing, one of our top boxing guys walked in. His name is Mike. I think around this time he was maybe 10-0 in boxing. But the thing with Mike is he doesn't look like a typical fighter. He's a little bit lanky and a lot taller than most fighters look. And I remember Ricky saying, man, I think I could take you. Good thing is Mike's a nice, cool, humble dude, so he just laughed it off. But I had to talk to Ricky. I was like, hey, man, I know Mike is super nice and he's letting you get away with saying the stuff you're saying. But trust me, this guy's really good. If he wanted to, he could beat you up. And, Ricky just kind of laughed it off. He was like, man, no way, man. I got this. I got this. Now, the thing is, every time my wrestling coach would hear him say stuff like this, he's just a troll, and he would just edge Ricky on. He was like, yeah, man, I think you could beat him up while laughing in the background. But Ricky's taking this stuff completely seriously, and every time he would say something crazy like he could beat up this guy, and this guy, the wrestling coach would just keep slicing his head like, man, I think you could do it, man. I think you could do it. You know what? You should just go to sparring next time they have sparring class and go show those guys what's up. And he's over there shaking his head like, yeah, man, I think I'm about to go join sparring. When I finally got word of all this stuff that's been going on and all the people that he said he could fight and beat up and stuff, I called him and I tried to talk to him. I was like, hey, man, Please don't let this wrestling coach get you in trouble, man. He's only playing. Trust me. Take your time. I really think you could be good one day, but you just started training. Don't rush into sparring. Sparring isn't something you want to rush into. Some of those guys, this is what they do for a living, and they're not going to have time to take it easy on you. Don't listen to him. He's just trolling you. Ricky wouldn't have it though, man. He kept telling me, he was like, man, I think I could do this. I think I could do this. And I was like, yeah, I'm telling you, you're going to be great one day. But if you jump into sparring too soon, you're going to get disillusioned from it. You know, if you go in there and you take a thorough beating, it might shy you away from ever training again. And then you're gone after just training for 2 weeks when you could have taken your time and end up being great one day. He still wouldn't listen though. So I figured, I was like, hey, you know what? Don't come to sparring to spar. Just come over. I'm going to tell all the coaches that I invited you so you can watch. At least that way, when you see how crazy sparring looks when the guys are actually going at it, you'll be like, all right, maybe I'm not ready yet. At this time, I was in camp. I was fighting in 2 weeks. So the sparring session that I invited him to was going to be my last sparring session for that camp. And I'm going to take a week off to let my body heal and start cutting weight to get ready for my fight the week afterwards. So I knew for sure he was going to get to see something impressive. Sparring day came, and man, I got my stuff ready, and I knew it was gonna be a hard session because this is gonna be my last session for the whole training camp. So it was me and a current UFC fighter at the time. Me and that dude, we was going at it, man. When I'm telling you, we had a UFC fight of the night type of sparring. It was insane. And after I was done, I took my stuff off, and Ricky came over and walked over to me. He said, "Man, was you guys going for real?" And I was like breathing heavy. I was super tired. I was like, yeah, man, you see what I'm telling you about? And then Ricky replies, he goes, if that's it, I could take you guys. What I thought when he said, was you guys going for real? I thought he was like impressed, like, man, you guys was going for real. But nah, Ricky, man, oh, you guys was going for real? As in he was going to get in there and beat us up. And that was it. I couldn't take it anymore. I was like, you know what? I'm done trying to help. Next Friday, come back in here. I'm not going to be able to spar you, but there's guys in here you can spar. If you think you can handle it, put your stuff on and jump right in. The next sparring session came, and hey, like Ricky said, he was a very confident guy. He showed up and everything. Now, some of my coaches still give me a lot of crap because he was like, hey, Ricky said he wanted to spar you, and you. And the guys that he said he wanted to spar were all fighting, so he couldn't spar any one of us. But we had another guy there that he could spar. I'm going to change another name again. Let's say his name was Ronnie. Now, the thing with Ronnie is one of those guys on our team that was just known to not take it easy. No matter what your session with Ronnie is, it was not going to be easy. It don't care if you're a day 1 guy, a day 50th guy, or if you've been training forever. Every round you do with Ronnie is going to be crazy. So Ricky got his stuff on. Our head coach is like, all right, Ricky, Ronnie, there you go. Y'all get in there. Now, the rounds started off kind of normal, where Ricky looking as green as you would look if you've only been training for 2 weeks. His wrestling was okay for a high school student, but not okay when you compare to world-class fighters. Ronnie beat Ricky up so bad. They started off sparring on the mat, and he beat Ricky up all the way off the mat and was beating him up into the hallway. Every time Ronnie would throw a punch, all Ricky would do was just shell up and walk backwards, and Ronnie would not stop throwing punches. He beat him all the way to the front desk of the gym area. After about 3 times where he kept fleeing off the mat and running to the front desk, our head coach finally had enough. He was like, all right, man, you're done. Ricky takes off his headgear and comes over to me, and he was like, man, Sadiq, you was right, man. I'm not ready for this. And next thing you know, he took off his stuff, left the gym. The next day came, the day after that, and I never saw Ricky again. Just like I told him, if you jump into sparring too early, you're going to get disillusioned and you're wasting your talent. Now, to this day, I still believe Ricky would have been a great fighter. He had the perfect body for it. He was very athletic, but he didn't take his time to learn. I don't think I'm the expert in becoming successful or anything, but I always believe that everybody that did get successful, they went about it in the right way. The world is always stacked against you, so you don't want to put more obstacles in the way. You want to make it as easy as possible. If he had just went about it the right way, take his time, learn how to fight, and learn how to spar before jumping in there with the professionals, who knows where Ricky would be now, you know? He could be a world champion one day. But he didn't listen. He went all about it wrong way, and he kind of paid for it. We haven't seen him again since. He's never been back to the gym. He only trained for 2 solid weeks and never came back. Moral of the story is, although you should always shoot your shot, you might want to make sure that you're aiming in the right direction.